Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Below the 38th Football and Adventures in South Korea. This is episode 18, and we're back on K-League 1 duty today. It's week 7 of the 2026 season, and there is an absolute belter in store for you in Sangam Seoul World Cup Stadium. We'll get onto that a little bit later on. I'm Andrew, and I'm joined by Luke again. Hi, Luke.
Hello, how are we doing?
Yeah, it's all beginning to warm up now, isn't it?
Yeah,
Not just the weather, but
Oh,
also
football as well. I'm enjoying the weather.
the weather's better. The weather's better. Yeah, the cherry blossoms are out. It's still a little bit chilly at nighttime, but the days are absolutely gorgeous. Every day is a sunny day, basically in Korea now. So if you are watching these matches, you'll certainly notice that. If you're going to a game, then have a great time because this is peak Korea. This in October are the peak times to be here as a resident and then also to be here as a football fan. What do you think?
Well, the Incheon grass was looking a lot better this past weekend after three weeks without any interruption and time to grow. I reckon about 3 or 4 more weeks and we'll be complaining about it being too hot and needing aircon. So yeah, I'm going to enjoy this month. A few more games lined up. It should be a good one.
Yeah, and then not only will we be complaining about how hot it is, but every year there's one of those matches in K-League 1 or K-League 2 that just grabs global headlines when there's so much water on the pitch that a simple 2-yard pass doesn't even go 2 inches across the grass. So we get to enjoy the spectacle of that at some point in July or August. So at Below the 38, you can find us on YouTube, obviously here. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter. And Mike, apparently, the K-League 2 specialist, is getting as many or all of these podcasts up onto iTunes, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. So please like, subscribe, share, let everybody know what we're doing. This is our first year of it on this podcast. We're having a lot of fun, and we hope to continue doing this for the rest of the year. You will see on our YouTube feeds the weekend that was with Luke, Mike, and myself on Monday or Tuesday reviewing what happened last weekend. And then the Short Enough podcast where Mike and I just sat in the Chinese restaurant and previewed K-League 2. That should also be on YouTube somewhere. So let's have a look at the fixtures that are coming up. As usual, I'll start with the first 3 and then Luke will do the next 3. And that means that for the first time since we started doing this, I get to preview an Incheon match. Woohoo. If you think that's the only time it's coming up today, it's not going to be the case. So you'll still get to hear Luke talking about this anyway. But the first game, there's 2 games at 2 o'clock on Saturday. And one of them is an absolute cracker. The other one is Pohang versus Jeju. That is in the Steel Yard at 2 o'clock. 4th versus 12th. Pohang are continuing this long streak of playing games at home. They started with Gimcheon Sangmu away from home, which they drew 1-1. And then they've got 8 games in a row at home. As what happens in K-League 1 and K-League 2, which we even discussed earlier on in the season, Luke and I did, that teams tend to go on long spells away from home at some point, and it's almost always to get the grass fixed before they can return. So I don't know if that's the case with Pohang. I'd imagine it probably is. They've done a lot of renovations to their stadium already. If you look at the corners, there's now table seats that were not there before. Seems like the capacity is slowly decreasing, unfortunately. Attendances are not great, but they are up to 4th with a couple of back-to-back wins after a very, very difficult start to the season. Incredibly, Pohang have only scored 4 goals in the first 6 matches, and they have Ihoj up front, so it's surprising, and Jorge too. They do have talent there, but they're just finding it difficult to score goals. Jeju recorded their first 3-pointer at the weekend when they beat rivals, at the moment their most hated rival, Bucheon in Seoul. These 2 sides met each other 3 times in 2025. Pohang winning 2 of them and Jeju winning 1 of them. Then we go to the World Cup Stadium in Sangam, Seoul. It's 1st versus 2nd. It's the weekend. It's the game of the weekend and probably the game of the season so far. Because these teams play against each other 3 times in a year, I'm not sad that this game feels like it's taking place so early in the season, because we are going to see them playing against each other twice more between now and the end of the year. And it feels like this is going to be 1st versus 2nd or 2nd versus 1st, whichever order you want come the end of the season. A big crowd is expected, and they had 25,000 at their game against Gwangju. FC Seoul did, so We're expecting a lot more than that. The weather should be really good for Saturday 2:00 game. Seoul are top with 13 points and 15. They dropped their first points at the weekend away to Anyang. Kim Gi-dong's team have also played a game less than Jeonbuk, but Jeonbuk are in great form after a very slow start to the season. They've won three in the bounce, having not won any of their first 3 matches. The sides played out a couple of 1-1 draws last season before Jeonbuk's 2-1 win in November on their way to winning the championship. Jeonbuk also knocked out Seoul in the Korea Cup last year. I was at that game, and they went on to win the double in Seoul Stadium just before Christmas. And finally, for me, on the weekend previews, we have Incheon versus Ulsan. Another interesting game. After the first few weekends of the season, you wouldn't imagine that these two sides would be neck and neck in the tables. Ulsan are just one spot above Incheon. It's 4:30 kickoff on Saturday. There are 3 points separating them, but the form guide suggests that Incheon are the ones in form here because they have won their last 2 matches. Ulsan, after a great start to the season, they won their first 3. Then they had a game against Seoul postponed because of Asian Champions League commitments. They have now dropped 5 points from their last 6. The match sees legendary midfielder Lee Chung-young faces old employers. He's now an Incheon United player, of course. And because they were in K-League 2 last year, Incheon never got to meet Ulsan, but they do have a great record against them. They've only lost 1 in their last 10, and that came 4 years ago. Will they continue that run against the Tigers? Find out later. I'm sure Luke will give us a nice prediction. Luke.
You've just jinxed it. We're going to get hammered now. Thanks.
By this Ulsan team? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
No. We have done surprisingly well against Ulsan in recent years. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Anyway, also 4:00 on Saturday is Gwangju versus Bucheon. Gwangju have had 2 terrible games, losing 5-0 to Seoul and then 3-0 to Gangwon at the weekend. They've had 1 shot on target in those 2 games. They really need to start getting points or they'll find themselves at the bottom and cut off. Bucheon started the year really well, but they're without a win in 5 as well. So both teams really looking for points. Gwangju, they're having a tough time because they're not allowed to sign players. Obviously, they've got some injuries and it's really beginning to show with just how thin their squad is. For Bucheon, it's a great time for them to go down to Gwangju. It's a great time for them to play and hopefully get their season back on track. I don't think they're likely to go down, but it's games like this Saturday against Gwangju that they'll need to win. They could do with somebody else helping with the goals. I think they're struggling for goals up front. I think Gallego is the only person who's got more than 1 goal. And otherwise, yeah, they've been struggling. So this could be a good opportunity for them to rectify that. Then we come to Sunday's games. Sunday we have Daejeon versus Gangwon. Gangwon obviously with the good win at the weekend. Daejeon have only got 1 win this season. They're turning into draw specialists somewhat. They lost to Pohang, but otherwise they've got 3 draws. And for a team that everybody backed to be in the top 2 or 3 at the beginning of the season, they're at risk of getting cut off if they don't start to put some points on the board. So this could be a good match. Both teams will go into it hoping for a win and hoping for a good performance. I expect that Daejeon will probably come out on top, maybe with a goal or 2. But yeah, it should be a cracker. Rounding the weekend off, we have Gimcheon versus Anyang. Gimcheon have not yet won. They're the only team in K-League 1 to have not won, but they've only also lost once. Anyang have been playing very well. They were unlucky at the weekend that they didn't get more after the Seoul game. They were unlucky against Incheon, having gone down to 10 men in the first half. And again, they're another team that shouldn't be in trouble this year, but they'll want to make sure they get some points on the board. It depends, this game, on which teams turn up. Like, if Gimcheon decide they're going to play, then they could do really well. If Anyang decide they're going to put their best foot forward and, get on with scoring and get on with winning, find their form from last year, then they could do really well. We know Gimcheon are going down. The question is always, how motivated are they? So that's 4:30 on Sunday.
Yeah, just on that Bucheon one as well, I think it's worth remembering too that Rodrigo Basani is probably the best player. He didn't win MVP in K-League 2 last season, I've already forgotten who did. Oh, it might have been one
Was
of
it
those guys.
Jerso?
Yeah, it might have been. Who did he play for? Incheon. Yeah, yeah,
Champions.
yeah, yeah. They cleaned up. They cleaned up all those awards. Basani's amazing though, and okay, he didn't win MVP. That's fine, but he was their key player in actually getting promoted. The back-to-back games against Suwon FC, he was absolutely sensational. His performance in the second leg, I remember saying it to Mike at the time, is probably one of the best performances I've seen a player in K League Two have at any time in my time in Korea. So he was amazing. He's been injured. He was back on the bench against Jeju, and I had a look at Bucheon's social media. They made a big hullabaloo, as you can imagine, about that. The whole like, look who's back, this stuff with Basani warming up. So he scores goals. He is their key assist provider too. He takes pretty much all of their set pieces. So I can't wait to see if he's fit and if he's in the team. Because yeah, they definitely need him. That for sure. That looks like the meeting of 11th versus 12th. Just like Seoul versus Jeonbuk, they'll probably finish first and second in whatever order. I get the feeling Bucheon and Gwangju will finish 11th and 12th in whatever order that comes to as well. As you're saying, Gwangju started very, very slowly. So having a quick look at the table there, before we go on to the games that look the most interesting, so Seoul, Jeonbuk, Ulsan and Pohang are the top four. Incheon actually were bottom at one point at the weekend, and now they find themselves in fifth, just by virtue of the fact that they're able to win a match, which other clubs are not able to do. But Jeju's win against Bucheon means that none of the clubs are really cut apart at this point. I mean, Daejeon and Had Citizen are on 6 points from all their matches so far. Six points in 6 matches, but Jeju are bottom. They have 5 points from 6 matches, so it's unbelievably tied in K League One, which is what you want to see. So that's why I kind of hope it ends a draw on Saturday in the Seoul World Cup Stadium. That's the game that attracts me for obvious reasons. It'd be cool if both teams were able to lose, like for a number of reasons. You know, one simply being that other teams might be able to catch up, but it's just after a difficult start to the season for Jeonbuk, and I know Seoul have more points and have played a game less, but you can't think of a bigger challenge than this. And I think this is just definitively has Kim Gi-dong turned this team around. They could finish second and end up finishing 18 points behind Jeonbuk. Like, was it all worth in the end? But if they can get something out of this match, especially a win, then that puts 5 points between themselves and the defending champions after 7 rounds. It'd be a huge statement win for them. It looks like there's going to be a huge crowd at the game. Something in the back of my mind tells me, though, I don't know if you agree with me, Luke, that this is Jeonbuk are beginning to flex their muscles, and it wouldn't surprise me if they rolled into Sangam on Saturday, walked out of there with a 1 or 2 goal win, and just reminded everybody that we are still the top dogs in this division.
I mean, historically, they've always done well in Seoul. And they always take a large crowd. I think Jeonbuk actually have quite a lot of Seoul-based fans as well. As a lot of teams seem to have a lot of Seoul-based fans because people move from their hometowns into the capital. I imagine that Jeonbuk are going to pack out the lower tier and the upper tier if they're allowed.
Just the point they have sold out the lower tier, so then of course they had to open up the upper tier for them. So they got 6 blocks in total. The bottom 3 are sold out, and now they're going to just destroy the top 3 as well. Sorry, go on.
Well, the bottom 3 blocks. I think the away end lower tier in Seoul is about 3,000. So if they're getting the top 3 blocks as well, you could be looking at 5,000, 6,000 away fans, which is phenomenal numbers. It kind of has that feeling of inevitability, like Jeonbuk that we saw from like 2015, 2016 and up to the 2020s, where they just steamrolled people. And if they get the chance, if they get going this year, I can see them doing the same again. Seoul are surprising a lot of people. They've been playing fine. They're playing okay. They're matching their opponents. They're managing to get goals. I wouldn't say that they've been as good as Jeonbuk have. I don't think their wins have been as impressive as Jeonbuk's have, but I do think that there's something different about Seoul this year, and you want to have a challenger, you want to have a title race, and whether it's, I don't know, Ulsan or if Pohang finally get going, or if Daejeon catch up, whoever it is, if we can get 3 teams at the top competing, it's better than having a team winning the league 18 points clear before the split. So, yeah, we'll see what can happen. I mean, at this stage, if Seoul win, Seoul could go on and end up finishing 18 points clear themselves. Who knows? But yeah, it's an intriguing game. For me, I've actually picked the opposite. I've gone for Gwangju versus Bucheon. I think coming off the back of two heavy defeats and two poor performances, Gwangju really do need to get some points on the board. We mentioned in the week that their XG was 0.03 against Gangwon. They didn't have a shot on target. They only had one shot off target, I think. They only had one shot on target against Seoul. So across 180 minutes, they've not really even looked like scoring. And when you're conceding lots of goals, that's a worry. Now, obviously, they're back at home, and does that mean home advantage helps them? Probably not, because they play in front of 1,000 people in a 40,000 seat stadium. Bucheon will smell blood in the water. Bucheon, for them, this is their opportunity to get back on track. We've talked in every single podcast we've done about the fact that no team is going down directly apart from Gimcheon. So Bucheon's aim should probably be the same as Incheon's, which is a minimum of it, like just aim for 11th and you're safe, and then stabilise. This is a great game for Bucheon to get points on the board. It's a game where Gwangju really need to get points because they're going to get cut off now Jeju have remembered how to win. I think Gwangju are lucky that they beat Incheon earlier in the season with the penalty that shouldn't have been a penalty according to the KFA. If it hadn't have been for that, then they'd be 2 points worse off. They'd be bottom, and things would be a lot more bleak, I think. So for me, that's the game I want to see how it goes down, what happens, and whether Bucheon can turn up and score some goals.
Yeah, I agree. That should be fun. I always like those kind of games towards the bottom end of the table as well, because as opposed to teams scrapping out for supremacy at the top, there are obviously clubs that their players are fighting for potentially their careers at the club that they're in by not going down. Just one thing, sorry, you mentioned there about the Seoul game as well. The difference could also be Patrick Klamala. They signed him last year. He was injured. He had a bad injury. They kept him, which you don't always see, and he's beginning to repay them. The other thing as well, of course, is that there's a lot of ex-Jeonbuk players now playing for FC Seoul, with Kim Jin-soo, Moon San-min, and now Song Min-gyu. So I always wonder as well, do these guys have some sort of an inside edge, an inside angle that they might be able to help their new teammates out? We'll see. If I'm going to a match, it's probably likely I'll end up at that game, but I don't want to talk about it anymore. We've given it enough air as it is. But just because of the game that's in, I'd love to bring the camera along and do some recording. You won't be at that game, though.
No, I'm going to be at Incheon. I think the thing that stands out for me about this Incheon game, we're coming off the back of 2 wins, so is it going to be possible for us to play well, play our own game, and get a result this weekend? I don't expect a win, but a draw would be nice. I think a draw is realistic. There's also the added bonus of Lee Chung-yong being involved. He's starting to come into his own at Incheon. He's been playing very well. He's stepping into a leadership role. He's doing press after the game. And I think given the fact that he left Ulsan under a cloud somewhat, he'll have a point to prove. And it will be interesting to see how much he features. He came off the bench after about 20 or 30 minutes last week because Jung Chi-in got injured. If Lee Chung-yong could get his first start for Incheon, if he can be involved for more than 45 minutes, I think there's going to be a story to be told. So it's intriguing. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be busted flush actually when he showed up. Like just like a guy who just didn't want to retire, but maybe his time at the top level was over. But what you're saying suggests completely otherwise. Well,
a lot of the Incheon fans had the same sort of like response to him signing, because he came and it was suggested that Ulsan, he had attitude problems. I don't know if that was the case, because Ulsan's been a bit of a crazy club to be at in the last 2 years. They've had a lot of problems with golf and various accusations of other things.
Female partners.
Yeah. Wives giving birth and wives cooking food. But yeah, I don't know. He's definitely won the fans over. He's getting a lot more support from the fans, and it reminds me of kind of when Shin Jin-ho came. There was a bit of concern: is he too old to be joining? But in the end, it was disappointing that he left. We actually thought he might have had one more year in him at Incheon, and he ended up at Yongin. But yeah, for Incheon Young, it's been promising. I'd love to see more from him. I'd like him to get a goal because I think that will help his game as well and help him settle. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see on Monday when we talk about it.
Great stuff. Any other news? Anything else you want to mention? Or we just getting ready for the weekend?
Yeah, just ready for the weekend. It's like Wednesday night now. We're nearly there. We're on the downhill slope.
Yeah. It's hump day. It's done.
It is, and I'm happy that we've actually got a Saturday game. It means we've got a bit more time to relax on Sunday afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, the Anyang Seoul game I was at was at 2:00 on Sunday, which is okay because it's 2:00. But like some of these 4:30 starts on a Sunday are awful. I don't want to go to a 4:30 game. I don't particularly want to go to a game on a Sunday, and definitely not a 4:30. And it won't be long now before the Sunday games are at 7:30. So again, let's not celebrate those
all
days.
Of the games. Saturday as well. Saturday and Sunday, 7 p.m. and all of the games at the same time. So it kind of takes away the kind of the celebration of it being a football weekend to all of the games crammed into one time because the weather's so terrible. But that's all on the horizon.
We'll definitely complain and moan about that some other time. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to Below the 38th, our weekly podcast on Korean football, K-League 1, K-League 2, and whatever happens over the weekends. Thank you so much. Like, share, subscribe, do whatever you like to do. And we hope to see you again next week. Goodbye.